What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Harrison, and today we are talking about The Last of Us episode 5. I'm finally getting to it. I did end up watching it Sunday night, but yeah, I had a pretty busy weekend, so I didn't catch it when it premiered on Friday. But wanted to definitely do a review slash what I thought of it kind of video that I've been doing for you guys. So if you guys have not watched it, episode 5, Endure and Survive. Stop it, go watch it, come back. Um, then yeah, let's dive into it. So episode 4 was definitely I didn't think every single episode of The Last of Us was going to be immaculate and was all going to be great, but episode 4 definitely felt like that middle of the pack kind of show. It was definitely the bonding experience that Joel and Ellie needed, and I thought it was a great episode. I mean, you can go back and watch my thoughts of it. I thought it was a great episode, but I definitely feel like would get at least one episode like that where it was kind of not a lot of action. Just kind of like just like a bonding experience. And this was the exact opposite. We got to see why Kathleen hated Henry so much for what he did to her brother, and her kind of her vengeance and wanting to get revenge on him, which ended up being the death of her and her people. But that's kind of the theme in The Last of Us is revenge, especially in of course part 2, where that whole story is revenge. So I just kind of want to go through the episode a little bit. uh, we get the backstory of Kathleen and her people taking over the QZ, and obviously Henry betrays. We learn that Sam has leukemia, and Henry makes the ultimate decision to give up the leader of the rebels, or whatever you want to call them, and he chose to save his brother. And honestly, I mean, I think that's what's so kind of like visceral about this show in particular is the sacrifices you're willing to make for selfish reasons, right? You don't want to, you know, lose your brother. You would rather give up somebody else, and that just kind of creates this endless cycle. And if it was Joel and you know Henry's shoes, he probably would have done the same thing. If he had an opportunity to save Sarah, and sacrifice somebody else, he would probably do the same thing. And I think most of us probably would at the end of the day. It's just human nature to want to protect the ones that you love. So and I would recommend, because I'm gonna talk a lot about what was said on the companion podcast that for the Last of Us show. They talk about a lot of great themes and stuff like that. So Kathleen obviously was losing her brother. That was her kind of Joel and her respective story, and she loses him, and she's kind of lost, right? She all only thing she cares about is revenge, um, at the detriment to her own people. Even her sidekick Perry knows that knows that she's wrong, and knows that she is going to lead them probably to their downfall when they have that scene where she's in her childhood home, and he was she was telling him what her brother meant to him, that he was her comfort, he was her safe space. He made it safe for her, made her feel safe. And at that moment, I think Perry realized that Kathleen is probably going to get them killed, right, or very close to it. But she's a strong leader. She changed things. They overthrew the QZ, got Fedra out, and she did that. And he said, we're with you till the end, right? He didn't say till the end, but we're with you. And yeah, I think that was a pretty powerful statement. He obviously cares a lot about her, and the people do. She's ruthless. She's cutthroat. She's willing to do the necessary things to survive in this world. And I mean, that's who you really got to be. Joel's already said that he's killed innocent people to get where he is now, and it is what it is in this world of The Last of Us. So after they go into the tunnel, and there's a really kind of great scene between Ellie and Sam, where they're bonding, and Sam looks up to her, not necessarily as like a sister or anything, but as like a mentor. And they had a really great bonding experience. Again, they got to play soccer, they got to smile and laugh. And then if you caught it, there was a thing about Ish, which Ish is from the original Last of Us game. It's like a story in the tunnels told with these letters, where they kind of, you found out kind of the downfall of this underground community, and how they were surviving, and end up eventually getting killed. But that was a neat little nod. Something that would have been cool to show in this show, but I don't think they could have, for the sake of the viewer. I don't think they could have done another like one-off episode where the focus wasn't Ellie and Joel. I think the story that they told prior was a lot better than this particular story. But yeah, getting to see the underground, and Henry was indeed right that there was no infected in that particular area. And then when they get out, and you see the cul-de-sac from the game, and there's the sniper, and Joel sneaks around and finds out that it's a kind of an old man. And at that moment, and again, I'm kind of relating to that companion podcast to kind of get some of my ideas from, and kind of think about. But what I didn't think about in the show is, this man is old, right? He was old going in to the apocalypse, to the pandemic, whatever you want to call it, and survived 20 years. And I think I think from that podcast that they were right, that when he's meets Joel, and Joel says, "Please don't do it," and he still turns, and I think that was his way out, right? That was his way of killing himself. He knew he was going to die because he was tired, and he was ready to go. He's probably done a lot of bad things, in his life to survive, and he lived a long life. So I think that was his way out of that particular situation. And then obviously we get the standoff moment between Kathleen and Henry and Sam and Ellie, and we see that that's all she cares about. Even when the infected are come out of I'll call it an emergence hole, for lack of a better term, from Gears of War. But when they emerge from the underground, even after all that, even when the bloater comes out and Perry tells her to run, she could have ran in that moment and escaped, but she was just so caught up in vengeance that she couldn't. She could not run. And then we obviously see Perry get his head ripped off, which was I'm gonna say a cool moment. Obviously, get someone getting killed is not necessarily cool, but to kind of throw back to the game, that's exactly how the bloater kills Joel in the game. So when you lose or whatever. So that was a really cool moment. And the bloater, man, the bloater was such a cool enemy, and they made him seem, or made it seem, so powerful that these enemies you're not killing. In the game, you kill them quite a few times, but in this world, I don't think you're killing one of these bloaters. They're just too powerful. So seeing that and practical effects was awesome. It's confirmed that a lot of those infected were not CGI. There was some in there, to give that effect, but this episode, up to this point, we really have not seen a ton of infected, all in one spot like this. We did see episode 2, where we got to see a little bit of a swarm, but it was nothing compared to this. And this is the moment where you realize this is why humanity lost, because there was just no way to stop these infected from spreading. They're just too fast, too ruthless. There's just no way to stop. And then that's when you learn, hey, this is why humanity lost at the end of the day. And then we get a really cool, and shout out to whoever the actor was, but whenever that clicker came into the car with Ellie, and was doing like the back the back movements and stuff, like it looked really awesome, and scary. And then obviously we see the kind of the final confrontation between Kathleen and Henry, and Kathleen obviously meets her demise by the child clicker, which was terrifying, by the way. Um, so yeah, it's just, I think it's a theme that just runs within The Last of Us. Again, especially part two, where revenge is going to get you killed for the most part. Revenge is going to get the people you love killed because she sacrificed her entire community for this one person when she could have just let it go and they went on their merry way, but she could not. She was consumed by revenge, and it was her ultimate downfall, and that's just the main theme in The Last of Us, right? And then obviously the moment we all knew was coming. We didn't know how it was going to happen, but we find out that Sam got bit on his leg, on his ankle. Uh, and in the game, you don't realize it, until it's in the moment, and you're like, oh crap, he actually got bit and turned overnight. But this one, him and Ellie are talking, and of course he's blind, of course, or not blind, but he's deaf, of course. And he asks, when you turn, are you still yourself inside, or something along those lines? And Ellie says, yeah, you think you are, and she tries to protect him with her blood. We haven't seen that before. She cuts herself and puts it on the wound. And we know as the audience that it's not going to work, but she wants to try to save him, and that makes sense. And then the most heartbreaking part of that moment is when she promises to stay awake, and she inevitably falls asleep, and she wakes up, and the reason why she probably isn't dead is because Sam couldn't hear. He could not hear. He couldn't hear anybody in the other room. He couldn't hear her sleeping. He's up there. He's sitting up, looking out the window, and in that moment, you hope. Well, you hope that it's Sam, right? Because in those final moments. But then also, if it is Sam, and if he's still in there, he doesn't have control over his body anymore, and he's attacking his friend that he likes a lot, right? Um, so that I think that's the most heartbreaking part, and this is why I think the show just does such a great moment, such a great job of capturing these really heavy moments in the game, and doing it in such a more touching and heartbreaking and devastating way than the game ever could. Obviously you got real actors on the live, on the big screen, the live screen, whatever. And yeah, it's just heartbreaking to know that even though he's infected and the cordyceps have taken over, you still have to deal with the body itself, and he couldn't hear. So very sad. It was a very sad scene. And then obviously they, you know, Henry, just like in the game, it's pretty much shot for shot. As soon as he realizes what's happening, he grabs the gun, shoots at the feet of Joel to make sure he doesn't grab any weapons, and then ultimately makes the decision to shoot Sam, and is instantly regretting it. What am I doing? What have I done? What have I done? And then kills himself. Um, just a devastating, just a devastating scene. And we finally get to see them getting someone buried properly, right, in the show. And Ellie just writes on the board, I'm sorry. And that's all you can say, that's all you can think at the end of the day, right? It's just, I'm sorry this happened, I'm sorry this happened to you. Because they planned on moving on together, and yeah, just a very very, I mean, this, we know The Last of Us is going to be a very sad and gut wrenching series. We already knew that, but man, is it sad. And I think at this point, after the bonding from the last episode, and Joel saying, do you trust me, when they're in the sniper moment. And I think this is that click, that point of realization, that where, he told himself 20 years ago when Sarah died that he never wanted to go through this moment again. He's realizing that he's caring for Ellie like his own daughter, and that thought of losing her is horrible. He never wants to have to go through that again, and he's right back in that moment, right? For better or for worse. So yeah, I just an incredible series. I keep saying that every week. The show just keeps getting better and better. The acting is amazing. All the characters that we know and love are brought to life on the silver screen. Everyone's done a good job, and I can't wait for more. But it's gonna be it's gonna be awful. So yeah, I can't wait for next week's episode. We seem like we're gonna be meeting up with Tommy, and we all know how that goes. Um, and we're probably, I'm not going to spoil anything, obviously, based on the game, but we're probably going to get some sort of like time skip, I would imagine. Probably the end of the episode. So we've got 4 episodes left. Man, what a ride it's been so far. This show is just incredible. I hope you guys liked this video. Please give it a like. Go back and watch the other episodes. Go back and watch the other videos on the show that I've done, to get caught up if you haven't, if this is your first time watching like this particular series. I try to get them up on the Monday after at some point during the day so I can be really fresh with it. But yeah. So yeah, subscribe to the channel if you can. I do a lot of I mainly do video games, but obviously this is a video game adaptation, so I've got to cover it. So all right, guys. Well, I appreciate everyone watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Consider subscribing to the channel. I'll let YouTube algorithm pick one of my videos below for you guys to watch. Give it a click, and I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next video.